I hesitate to say it, but this show and several others are under assault. Let me just tell you what happened. Let's just, right here. Billy and Brandy on January 16th went to the hearing that was taking place. And they just popped up in a spot. They just sat down in the courtroom. They didn't sit anywhere on purpose. They just sat down. And while they were there, they were talking to a guy that they ended up interviewing. His name was Travis. He was there that day. He's the guy with the weird hand tattoos. He got really emotional. I actually watched it when they had it. I watched it, but I couldn't understand. Like, I guess at the beginning of it, maybe I was doing two things, because in the first 5 or 6 minutes, they recounted a story that I remember vaguely hearing. And here's what happened. After a while of sitting there, they realized that they were sitting directly behind Tyler Robinson's family. And Tyler Robinson's family at one point turned around and said, hey, you guys are talking about the case. Can you dial it back? There's this one lady that was talking to him. She said, can you dial it back a little bit? This is the family, we don't want to hear all this. And they were like, yeah, of course, we're very sorry. And during a break, they actually talked more with that woman. And they asked her things like, what's your relationship to the family? And she said it. I'm not going to say who it was. But she said the relationship is pretty close. Like, she was one of 6 family members in the courtroom. It's close. And then they said, is this consistent? Like, can you see Tyler Robinson doing something like this? Is it? No. I wish I could play the video. I might actually be able to just read the transcript, because I think that might do it here. Let me just pull the transcript up and read it, because I don't want to get the story wrong. I want you guys to get it, but I'm having sound issues tonight. She said, oh my gosh, we're sorry. Didn't mean to offend you or anything. She said, no. I heard what you guys were saying. I appreciate what you two were saying, referring to me and Billy. And we just kind of asked her, so have you spoken to the media at all? Like Candace Owens, for example? And she knew who she was exactly. She just said, quote, I feel like we don't want to say anything because we just think that everything just keeps getting twisted. And then she basically said about 2% of what you're hearing in the media is true. And I wouldn't even say true, like partially true. And just basically what the mainstream media says is not what really occurred. I'll read it again. And just basically what the mainstream media says is not what really occurred. And we sort of asked her, do you think Tyler is capable of doing something like this? And she just looked at us and said, no. Now that screaming is somebody screaming in the background in the transcript trying to figure it out. And then they go on to discuss. But that's the bulk of that conversation. So the bulk of that conversation was, do you think Tyler Robinson could do anything like this? And then like, no. Is what you're hearing in the media true? No, absolutely not true. Only about 2% of it. Well, use your own imagination on what 98% isn't true. Now, they were there again yesterday for the hearing yesterday. And I'm going to read directly what they wrote me so that I don't stray from what they permit me to say based on this conversation. Because they told me more than I'm allowed to say out loud. And I don't want to accidentally say something I'm not supposed to say. So when I read this, I want you to know who's saying this. This is a family member of Lance Twiggs, the roommate. This is a family member of Lance Twiggs, the roommate. And the roommate had a family member go on with, and I can't remember the guy's name. He went on with some reporter. I can't remember his name. Scott something maybe. I've got it pulled up in here. Where'd it go? It's not important. But I played a clip of it last time when it was on a week or two ago. Brian, that's his name. Brian Stelton or something? No, not Brian Stelton. That guy was on Brian Anton. Thank you, guys. You guys are amazing. Brian Anton. And I told you that I didn't think Brian Anton did his job on that interview. Because the way he portrayed it was, here's a close member of the family who knows everything that's going on. Let's hear what she has to say. And remember, the killer line that everybody in the media ran with was, you've got the right guy. You got the right guy. Well, here's what the other family member said. And keep in mind, this is an actual close family member. A family member of Lance's told us the story about Lance cooperating with the feds is not true. You know, that was circulating in the media. Oh, Lance is cooperating with the feds. Well, think about why you would say something like that. Who does Tyler Robinson have access to? Nobody. He can't just jump on the internet. He's in county jail. They don't just do that. So he can't just jump on the internet. He can't listen to Candace. He can't listen to Barron. He can't listen to anything. He can't read the New York Times. I did have the mic muted when I was playing. It's a double spend on the Roadcaster. I can't help that. And so if you wanted to get the message to him, now, between all the people coming to visit, between all the other inmates at the county jail, somebody's going to hear something about what's going on with the Tyler Robinson case. The biggest rock star in the jail is obviously going to have people inquire, like they're going to ask their friend, what do you know about this Tyler Robinson guy? He's in here with me. And they're going to say, oh, man, his roommate's cooperating, cooking him. Well, that's going to filter back to him. And he has no way to figure out if that's true or not. Tyler Robinson does. Here's what the Lance Twiggs family member said actually happened. The feds surrounded their condo. They detained Twiggs and questioned him for hours. He was not cooperating like the feds said. She also said she doesn't know if the FBI paid for them to move somewhere, but they did relocate. The woman who is a member of Lance's family that Brian Anton interviewed is more like a distant relative who has met Lance a total of 3 times and hasn't seen him in over a decade. That's a big fail on Brian Anton's part. He might do some great work on other stories, but he failed that one. That's a massive miss. That's a swing and a miss. It's such a bad swing and miss, you have to ask how it happened. I believe you, he's a G. That's what I'm saying. He might do great work in other areas. He did a horrific job on this one because he put up a woman that he led us to believe was close to the family who told us she believed Tyler Robinson did it, that they had the right guy. That's a swing and a miss if she hadn't talked to Lance Twiggs in over a decade. Lance's family says they're very disappointed by that interview and believe it was done for attention. Here's the kicker. This is interesting, and this kind of mirrors my belief. Lance's family does believe they both were involved in some way, but they don't believe they knew what they were getting into. They think Tyler and Lance may have been told to do specific things that day, and that they might need Lance's cooperation for whatever case they're building. And right now, Lance won't speak to anyone in his family at all about the entire situation. That's my feeling. That's my belief. That's absolutely my belief. My belief is exactly in line with what Brandy and Billy are going to report on their show when they do it. And again, I'm doing this with their permission. I'm not stealing a story from them. They told me I could do this. I asked them, I said, hey, after we talked about it, I said, if you guys just want to hold the story and go with it next week, that's fine. I won't say, I won't even tell you. I won't even tell anyone I talk to you. But they think it's important to get these facts out. quickly as possible. Lance's family does believe they both were involved in some way, but they don't believe they knew what they were getting into. That's my thought. They are unknowing patsies. They thought they were getting involved in something, some operation. It might have been an operation that was going to result in someone's unaliving, someone no longer being among the living. But it was not something that Tyler Robinson planned out in his living room by himself. It's not something that this guy was in there engraving bullets and then had to text Lance all the details because Lance didn't have a clue what was going on. That's just not true. That's not what they believe happened. It's not what I believe happened. And I think it's a fairly devastating reality that this is how they're choosing to go forward. And again, I'm not cheesing all over Brian Anton. I don't want to be judged by my worst day on the job, and I think that was a bad day on the job for him. So I'm not judging him based on it. I'm not judging him based on it at all. But I do believe, and I will, until I see some evidence to the contrary, I believe this, and I will hold this belief and maintain this belief. I think it's fundamentally important that if what they're saying is true, that Tyler Robinson is not allowed to take the full fall. Because that means there are guilty people who got away with it. And if we're not talking about guilty people who like shoplifted and got away with it. We're not talking about guilty people who like killed a street walker and got away with it. We're not talking about guilty people who just, killed a good man and we're talking about an operation involving really high level people, apparently. Lots of moving parts that took down a national treasure, a public figure who talked to millions and millions of people on a regular basis and took him down in the most horrific way imaginable with a very clear message. Do you like your neck? Candace, do you like your neck? Tucker, do you like your neck? That's the message. And if you allow them to get away with it, what message are we sending back? Yeah, that's fine. You guys can have your way with the American population. You can just declare it hunting season. Whenever you like, you can come take one of us out for sport, like we're a rhinoceros wandering around on the savannah. And I'm not sure I'm ready to give up on that. We kind of already have this fundamental agreement with the JFK situation and the RFK situation and the MLK situation and the what happened with Ronald Reagan, which was supposed to end his life, but he miraculously survived. We kind of already have this fundamental agreement that we're aware none of this adds up, that we're aware these things are happening. I mean, just look around the Clinton family. We're kind of aware that this is going on. We're kind of aware that, there were emails in the release from this last week, the big famous email release everybody's talking about, where they're very clearly talking about offing people. They're just not even hiding it. They're sending over Gmail. And we're told there's nothing in there that's prosecution worthy. These people are still walking around. Who are they talking about? Is that person alive? If that person's not alive, maybe we ought to check into where they are. How'd they get there? It's such a problem to me. It is such an unbelievable problem to me. And if the family itself is not buying it, if the family itself has an issue, hold on, I just saw somebody saying the chat's getting bad and they need to get a hold of me. Are you telling me to slow it down? Is that what you're saying? I'll just put a 60-second hold on everything. I don't want to stop the chat, obviously, but I can slow it down tremendously. Guys, don't mess with the chat. You know, if you know you're being annoying, stop. You know, and look, if you're intentionally being annoying, we just assume you're out to sabotage the show, and then they have the ability to toss you. So let's not do that if we want to remain engaged. How about that? It's on slow mode 60. I don't know what else to do. I guess one of you guys changed it. But that's why I fight this fight. It's not about TPUSA necessarily. I mean, it kind of is to me, but it's not really. Like, I don't like the stuff they're doing either. But the stuff they're doing is minimally important to me relative to, are there American citizens who are just being hunted? And if so, who is hunting them? If that's the reality, who is doing the hunting? Is it fellow TPUSA employees? Is it military people? Is it members of our government? Is it members of other government? Is it foreign citizens who are not members of any government? Who is doing the hunting? That's why this bothers me. That's why I want to get to the bottom of this. That's why I want to be able to prove whether or not Tyler Robinson was on the Losi Center roofs with a 30-06 and whether or not a 30-06 round is what caused the damage. Because if that didn't happen, the family doesn't believe it happened. And one of the arguments from all the shills is, well, their families would be out talking about it if that's not what happened. Well, maybe their families are afraid their kid's neck is next if they say something. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they realize at this point that whoever they were dealing with, if they can kill Charlie Kirk, surrounded by millions of dollars, maybe $10 million a year worth of security, what chance does their kid have?